Hey everybody, it's Jim Hegemeyer with the Leslie Wells Realty, and I'm with my good buddy over here is
Tom Collier with Leslie Wells Realty.
Tom. We got a big one today, man. I'm excited about this. This gentleman, if we tried to explain it all, we're going to run out of time. All the accomplishments and accreditations, but he's on this podcast, he's a real life cowboy entertainer with several projects all going on at once. Les McDowell. Nice to see you, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
You are a busy guy. All right? Now, right now, I saw where you are at the Manatee County Fair.
Yeah, at the Manatee County Fair, I got a cowboy camp set up and doing some cowboy poetry and being interactive with the kids and just keeping the cowboy way alive.
Yeah. I saw somewhere that you were a trick roper. What is a trick roper as a cowboy?
Well, if you remember Will Rogers, the philosopher, the cowboy philosopher, of course, his statues in the Capitol and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He was a great trick roper, and I learned from his son, Will Rogers Jr., that played him in the movie. And I called and got a hold of him out of Quebec, Arizona, and met him in Los Angeles. And we went up to his dad's ranch house, which is, of course, a park now.
Okay.
You can go and see. And he looks just like his daddy played him in The Boy from Oklahoma, the movie. And he taught me, and I did a one-man Will Rogers stage show.
I got you.
Yeah.
So you do trickery ropery there. And so do you do that at the fairground presentations?
Yeah, I get the ropes out and do a little trick roping, and I do some cowboy poetry. My stuff's mostly Americana, about old barns and pocket knives and grandpas and kind of stuff like that,
Cool.
Kind of yesteryear type things,
Yeah. So, but one of the things that stands out, you have the Dry Creek. You're the creator of Dry Creek here in Parrish. And I guess that's kind of an old Western themed setting that you have at your place here.
Yeah, how that came about real quick is I worked radio for many years and got fired from radio, and I finally got to do what I always wanted to do, and that was to act.
Okay.
And I never grew up. I always wanted to be a cowboy. I always liked, Gunsmoke and all those. And so I started building after I got fired. When you lose your job and you're middle-aged, I know I don't look middle-aged.
No, not at all.
But when you get older, you kind of revert back and want to do things you want to do. And so I started building, out of depression of getting out of radio.
Okay.
And guess what? Dry Creek appeared.
I saw one board at a time.
One board at a time. That was my thing. And I would get boards from all over Manatee County. If someone was tearing down a fence, I'd stop and say, hey, can I have that lumber? Or I saw an old building, or I went over to a sawmill over on 39. And the guy says, I read about you in the paper doing this. And he goes, yeah, you can come and get all the old boards, that I've got.
Okay.
I was just like going and taking boards and building.
So it started out, you had just the facade of the building, okay? Mm-hmm. But tell me about some of the buildings that you have.
It started out with facades, and it was just the fronts. And then my wife would say, well, it was almost like the Kevin Costner movie. She says, well, what are you doing this for? And I said, I don't know. I'm just building it, And so we sat out there at night. And well, what do I tell my friends at work that you're doing, And I said, I tell them that for my cowboy poetry, I'm building sets.
Okay.
And then so I started calling some of my cowboy buddies and saying, hey, I wrote a little skit around a poem that I've got. And let's have a chuck wagon scene and this and that. And then it turned into, well, let's put a general store in the background and do a scene, And my Facebook went from being at the #1 country station in the country, WQYK and CMA and all that kind of stuff. When I had 150 people, went to 5,000 overnight. Because I was doing what I wanted to. I was building it one board at a time in my dream, of doing this, bringing family television back.
Sure, absolutely. But it all started around the cowboy poetry.
Yeah.
I remember WQYK, the cowboy poetry that you did was on my drive time to work.
Oh.
So I heard quite a few of your cowboy poems. And they were all awesome.
Absolutely.
Every one of them was awesome.
Absolutely. So then this became, am I right? This became a movie set?
Yeah, what happened is then people would say after Dry Creek got on the air, it turned into a full-blown television show. And then we ended up on a Nashville network called Blue Highways TV that Stan Hitchcock, who started Country Music Television, CMT, started, and Stan ran it for a few years. And that's kind of the way it started. And then people heard about it and wanted to film there and stuff. And because we were the only Western set there is, or in Florida, yet they'd have to go out west. So when I first started doing Dry Creek, I thought I was doing a Western, but I wanted to hide the Spanish moss and stuff, because you didn't see that. You'd see the big rocks and all that. And then I read a book called A Land Remembered, and by Patrick, and what it is the West started in Florida. The first horses and cattle, hoofed animals came right through this area, from down south. You didn't even know that.
I didn't know that.
Before there was a Texas and the cowboys and the big rocks and this and that, and the Indians, of course, our Indians here never gave in, never signed a treaty, and hid in the woods. And so I said, I'm going to start telling this story. So that's what Dry Creek was early Florida.
So now you became a historian.
I guess so, but what a story.
Yeah.
And it's Patrick Smith wrote the book. If you ever have a chance, A Land Remembered. It's a large book, and you won't be able to put it down. It's just unbelievable, the history that's come right through here. Frederick Remington, the great Western artist from New York, he came down and he was doing a story for the New Yorker. And he would do, paintings and sculptures and this and that. And he came down and did a story on the cow hunters. They don't call them cowboys, they call them cow hunters.
Right.
And he says, I know cowboys like some people know flying China, and there's no cowboys down here. But then he started learning about these cowboys, cow hunters and stuff, and then he was turned the other way and really admired them.
So then I found out you were also an author. Right? You have a book or two out. The Road Less Traveled, Roping a Dream.
Yeah, what happened was my wife and I would be at somewhere, and I always hated when somebody would talk, and you had mentioned something like Chris Christopherson, and they would know something. I have a story about Chris Christopherson. You had been doing the music and stuff same way, and our camera gentleman here, he's worked with, Willie and different people like that. So she says, you ought to write a book, because we've got some really interesting stories, from being Johnny Cash's paper boy to Will Rogers Jr. and learning the trick roping and all the things that's happened and the celebrities through radio.
And now he's on the Tom and Jim podcast.
All right.
Big time. You finally made it.
I finally made it.
Yes,
I feel really great.
Well, but getting back to the Dry Creek, now you have this. It's a film set now, and congratulations! I saw where you played a judge, I believe, on the hanging of William Kane.
Well, I played a sheriff on that one,
Okay.
and R.J. Hendricks, the writer, is the #1 bestseller of westerns on Amazon books, and he's wrote a lot of novels. And he came to me and he says, I don't know nothing about filming or anything. And I said, well, good luck with doing a period piece, because it's a lot harder. If we were filming, we could go right out Leslie's office here if we were filming a modern day thing, and there's your background, your cars, and everything else. But when you're doing the period pieces, you've got to have carriages out there, and you've got to have people dressed right. Or somebody's going to be sitting at home that really knows the Western genre and saying, that gun's all wrong. They didn't have a Texan saddle back then, Okay. So you've got all those people sitting in America that's just looking at that, the grandfathers and the people that like the Western.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
Yeah, I saw you, speaking of that, I saw you had there was a picture of you on the set drinking a Mountain Dew. Did they have Mountain Dew there? No.
But when I'm working acting, that's the only time I have a Mountain Dew, when I'm working, because it kind of gets you going,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, but I saw another acting piece, and I'm not sure what it was, but obviously I saw it on the internet, And it looked like a test piece that you were doing. Somebody was feeding you lines.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah.
I was into it. I just wanted to see.
Yeah,
more.
that's called reading sides. And for an actor, what they do is somebody will sit back off camera and they don't really act them out, but they'll say, "Where are you going to town today?" And you go, "Yes, I'm going to town." And you do your part, and they're just real serene.
Yeah.
And that's for a film called Lone Oak, and it's going to be filmed out in Arizona at Old Tucson Ranch, which is where a lot of the Western
Been by it.
yeah, and Old Tucson, and it appears at this point. I've got the part of Whitey, which is a pretty good character. And I'm really looking forward to doing this. Mr. Hartley, Philip Hartley, that wrote the book. He's done pretty well with the book, and he came over and visited me. He lives on the other coast, and I said, "Man, and he said, "How would you like to do Whitey?" Which is a character. So I put, for any Western aficionados, I put a little Jack Elam in there. Remember the old Westerns with the guy with the eye, the big eye?
Yeah.
And I put a little Jimmy Stewart in there, and kind of made a character called Whitey.
I heard Jimmy Stewart in some of your poetry, actually.
Yeah.
That you mentioned that,
It floats in there every once in a while. I was such a big fan, and he was such a great actor. Him and I think the best actors that ever lived was, in my opinion, it was Jimmy Stewart. He was so sensitive, and Gary Cooper. Gary Cooper could just look and he could just twitch or show his eyes, and you know what he was feeling.
So what's the best way to find some of that stuff on the public? Is it a lot of it on YouTube?
Some of it's on YouTube. We only have the Christmas Smile. We have that on there, and I think the Bully or something, but a couple of episodes. We're going to put them all up.
The handshake.
The handshake,
Yeah.
yeah. We're going to put all of them up in the not too far distance future, and then we had Hollywood when we got nominated for Best Series Family Friendly in New York at the Cable Fax Awards. They asked me to speak at the Film Commission over in Sarasota, which is a big film commission.
Sure.
And I spoke, and they were all talking about their films. Oh, we spent $5 million on this one and $3 million, and then they had me talk after I came back from getting this award, and I said, "You know how much we had? Zero." It was just people wanting to bring family programming back. That's what Dry Creek's all about. Everybody knows where Dry Creek is. It's inside of each and every one of us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to treat you good, Jim. I want to be nice to you because you've got feelings. I don't care if you're yellow, black, white, overweight, this or that. I'm just going to go on who you are, and that's what Dry Creek's about.
Mm-hmm. So is there a website that we can check some of this out or some of the scenery?
No, we're going to put we're going to put everything up, and we did a Dry Creek movie where I started telling you I went to the Film Commission, and when I got done speaking, I had 30 people lined up, and they were all from script supervisors to directors and stuff that's worked big pictures out in Los Angeles, and they came together and said, "Let's do a movie." And so we wrote a movie, and we had the big dressing rooms, and we were using the small cameras at first, and we started with a $500 Zoom camera.
I understand.
That's a $100 Zoom camera, and then we went all the way up to the Alexa, which is what they use in all the big films. We never did sell it. I think it was the timing. I think politically, the handshake is your word and bond and everything might not be woke today or whatever. I think pendulum swinging back a little bit where family programming is needed. I just was in a film that's on PureFlix now, and I played the judge. And it's a series, and I was in 2 episodes of playing it, and they filmed out at our place. It was modern day, and it's about children that are taken by people, and and that type of thing. It sounds really dreadful, but it was uplifting, also funny. But it's the message that needed to be out, So I think the pendulum swinging back.
Cool.
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope.
Landon couldn't get today. Landon could not get Little House on NBC. I can guarantee you.
Probably not.
No.
No. You've been to Dry Creek, have you not, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Massive. Beautiful.
Is that right?
It's like no place you've ever seen.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I remember we had the county inspectors come out, and I put them off for a while, and they came out, great people. I had Mr. Falcone, the head of tourism for the county, and they came out, and I had from PJ's Sandwich Place.
Yeah.
I had the sandwich tray made up real nice, and I was showing them what Dry Creek was all about. And they wanted to see the set. They'd seen it on satellite, What are these buildings out here? And the main inspector says, Mr. McDowell, do you plan on building anymore? And I said, I stood up and I went over to the window of the general store. We were inside the general store, and I pulled back the curtain and I said, see out there? And he goes, yeah. I go, that's where the log ride's going to go.
Speaking of that, where do you see this going? What's the next step? What's going to happen?
I don't know. I've had several produced, since 1883 and Yellowstone. I think the Western's coming back, and that handshake word and this and that. And though Dry Creek never took anybody to the train station or anything like that, but the Western's coming back because my phone's starting to ring now, and I've got somebody coming from Orlando. Matter of fact, Saturday morning at 8 a.m. that are wanting to do a feature, a Western feature and stuff like that. And it's good for me as being an actor now, because I was telling my wife, and I was telling Tony Sensamichi, a great actor that's been on The Army Wives and like a brother and stuff to me and does a lot of acting. I said, the nice thing about owning the football is they've got to use my football.
Yeah. It's your ball.
They've got the players, but so now I can say, can I play?
Yeah, I like it. Well, you did a fabulous job, and again, I've seen some of the clips, on the YouTube, and it's impressive. In fact, I shared it with my wife. Honey, watch this guy, man. He's on it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So things are going to happen, and we look forward to what's going to happen in the community, and you're part of the community here. And,
well, cool. We love this community. Manatee County is, even though it's grown and everything. I asked an Amish man, I said, what do you think about the progress? And he says, as long as women are going to have babies, there's going to be progress. And that's going to happen. So we're going to see little Manatee County that I came here 25, years or whatever ago. I flew over it. I was a pilot too, and I came flying. I go, man, that's right across the sky. We're close to Tampa. And my wife and I came down, and she's been behind me, Connie, on this 300%, and believed in my dreams. And here we are in Manatee County, and we just love it. Love it. Very cool.
Thanks for being a part of it. Thanks for coming in this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for being
Pleasure.
here.
All right, everybody, there you have it. Thanks for checking in with us, and we'll see you the next time right here on Tom and Jim's Awesome Real Estate Adventure at Leslie Wells Realty. Bye-bye.